The smell of burnt coffee and my wife's expensive perfume hit me the moment I walked through our front door. Lila was sitting at our kitchen island, perfectly manicured fingers wrapped around a wine glass that was already half empty, at 9:30 on a Tuesday night. That should have been my first real warning. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. "You're home early," she said without looking up from her phone. Her voice had that rehearsed quality I'd learned to recognize over our 8 years of marriage. The same tone she used when firing people at her HR job. I dropped my toolbox by the garage door and grabbed a beer from the fridge. Job site flooded. Pipes burst in the new construction downtown. I twisted off the cap and took a long drink, studying my wife's reflection in the kitchen window. "How was your book club?" Lila's laugh was sharp, almost manic. "Funny you should ask about that, Eric." The way she said my name made my skin crawl, like she was testing how it sounded before throwing it away forever. I'd heard that tone before, when she'd fired her assistant last month for performance issues, that everyone knew were really personality conflicts. "We need to talk," she continued, finally setting down her phone and turning to face me. Her makeup was flawless, her blonde hair perfectly styled, despite supposedly spending the evening discussing romance novels with her girlfriends. "About our marriage." I leaned against the counter, keeping my expression neutral. 20 years of construction work had taught me to read people, to spot problems before they became disasters. Right now, every instinct I had was screaming danger. "I'm listening." Lila took another sip of wine, and I noticed her hands weren't quite steady, nervous or excited. With her, it was hard to tell the difference. "I've been thinking about what I want from life," she began, her words coming out in a rush like she'd practiced this speech. "About what makes me happy, and I've realized that traditional marriage, it's just not working for me anymore." "What exactly are you saying, Lila?" She stood up, smoothing down her designer dress, the black one I'd bought her for our anniversary last year. "I want an open marriage, Eric. I want the freedom to explore connections with other people, physical connections." The beer bottle slipped in my grip, but I caught it before it could fall. "Other people." "Yes." Her chin lifted defiantly. "I've already started, actually. There's someone at work, Owen from the marketing department. We've been getting to know each other better." The kitchen suddenly felt too small, too hot. I could hear the neighbor's dog barking, the hum of the refrigerator, my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. "Getting to know each other." "Don't be crude about it," Lila snapped. "We're adults. These things happen. The question is whether you're mature enough to accept it." I set my beer down carefully on the granite countertop. The same countertop I'd installed myself 3 years ago, working nights and weekends to surprise her. "And if I'm not?" Her smile was cold, calculated. "Then you pack your things and leave, tonight." The silence stretched between us like a wire under tension. Outside, Mrs. Malloy's porch light flickered on, and I caught a glimpse of her face in her kitchen window. Our neighbor had a talent for appearing whenever drama was brewing. "Just like that," I said finally. "Just like that." Lila picked up her wine glass again. "I'm not asking for your permission, Eric. I'm telling you how things are going to be. You can either accept it and stay, or you can leave. But I'm not giving up Owen." Owen. I knew Owen Marshall, 6'2", gym-obsessed, drove a red BMW that he parked in the visitor spots like he owned the place. I'd met him at Lila's company Christmas party last year. He'd spent the entire evening talking about his CrossFit routine and his MBA from some fancy school back east. "How long?" I asked. "Does it matter?" "It matters to me," Lila shrugged. 3 months, maybe 4. 4 months. That explained the new lingerie I'd found in her drawer, the sudden interest in working late, the way she'd started keeping her phone face down during dinner. The pieces clicked into place with an almost audible snap. "And Bree knows about this?" "Bree introduced us, actually." Lila's smile turned smug. "She thinks it's healthy, modern. She and David have been doing the same thing for years." Bree Langley, Lila's best friend since college, married to a pharmaceutical sales rep who traveled constantly. Bree lived in the expensive part of town, threw elaborate dinner parties, and had opinions about everything. I should have known she was behind this. I picked up my beer and drained it in one long swallow. "Okay." Lila blinked. "Okay?" "Okay. If that's what you want, then that's what we'll do." She stared at me for a long moment, clearly expecting a different reaction. You're fine with this?" "I'm a grown man, Lila. If you want to sleep with Owen from marketing, that's your choice." I crushed the empty bottle in my hand, feeling the glass creak under pressure. "Just don't expect me to pretend I like the guy." Relief flooded her face. followed quickly by something that looked almost like disappointment. Good. That's good. I was worried you'd make this difficult. Why would I make it difficult? I asked, already knowing I was lying through my teeth. You're right. We're adults. These things happen. She nodded eagerly. Exactly. And who knows? Maybe you'll find someone too. Maybe this will be good for both of us. I seriously doubted that, but I kept my mouth shut. Instead, I kissed her forehead, the same way I'd done every night for 8 years, and headed toward the stairs. Eric? She called after me. Thank you for being understanding. I paused at the bottom of the staircase, my hand on the banister I'd refinished last summer. Don't thank me yet, sweetheart. We haven't seen how this plays out. That night, I lay in bed listening to Lila's breathing, watching the shadows move across our bedroom ceiling. She'd fallen asleep quickly, probably relieved that her confession had gone so smoothly. But I was wide awake, my mind racing. 3 months. She'd been cheating on me for 3 months, and I'd been too stupid or too trusting to see it. All those late nights at the office, all those girls' weekends with Bree, all those times she'd claimed to be too tired for anything more than a quick kiss goodnight. I thought about Owen Marshall with his perfect teeth and his expensive suits. I thought about Bree Langley and her knowing smirks at dinner parties. I thought about my wife lying next to me, probably dreaming about her exciting new life. And I started planning. My buddy Jace Morrison ran a small security consulting business out of a strip mall downtown, wedged between a nail salon and a tax preparation office. Former cop, former Marine, current pain in the ass to anyone stupid enough to cross him. We'd known each other since high school, back when he was getting suspended for fighting and I was rebuilding motorcycle engines in my parents' garage. You look like hell, he said when I walked into his office the next morning. Let me guess. Lila's found a new hobby. I dropped into the chair across from his desk, which was covered in surveillance equipment, coffee cups, and what looked like a half-eaten sandwich from yesterday. How'd you know? Saw her at Russo's last week with some pretty boy in a suit. They weren't exactly discussing quarterly reports, if you know what I mean. Jace leaned back in his chair, which squeaked ominously under his weight. She tell you about it? Last night. Gave me an ultimatum. Accept it or leave. And I accepted it. Jace raised an eyebrow. You accepted it. Publicly. I pulled out my phone and showed him the text I'd sent Lila that morning. Hope you have a good day at work. Say hi to Owen for me. Privately, I want to know everything. How long it's been going on, where they meet, who else knows about it. A slow grin spread across Jace's face. Now you're talking my language. He pulled out a laptop that had seen better days and cracked his knuckles. What do you need? Phone records, credit card statements, GPS tracking on her car. I paused. Is that legal? She's your wife. The phone and credit cards are probably joint accounts. And if it's your car, he shrugged. Gray area, but nothing that'll get you arrested. It's her car. I bought it for her birthday 2 years ago. Then it's community property. We're good. Jace started typing. This gonna be a divorce thing, or you planning something more creative? I thought about Lila's smug smile, about Owen's perfect teeth, about Bree Langley's knowing looks. Let's just say I want to level the playing field. Fair enough. Give me 24 hours. I spent the rest of that day working on a kitchen renovation in the suburbs, trying to focus on measurements and tile patterns instead of the images my brain kept conjuring up. Every time my phone buzzed, I checked it hoping for updates from Jace and dreading texts from Lila. She sent 3 messages throughout the day. Thanks for being so understanding about everything. Working late tonight. Don't wait up. You're the best husband ever. That last one almost made me laugh. The best husband ever, so good, in fact, that she felt comfortable cheating on me for months before bothering to mention it. I got home around 6 to find a note on the kitchen counter. Gone to Bree's for dinner. Back late. There's leftover pasta in the fridge. Leftover pasta. After 8 years of marriage, that's what I rated. Leftover pasta and a post-it note. I was microwaving said pasta when Mrs. Malloy appeared at our back fence, her gray hair in curlers and a cigarette dangling from her lips. Evening, Eric, she called through the chain link. Lila working late again? Something like that. She took a long drag and blew smoke into the evening air. Funny thing, I saw that red sports car parked in your driveway yesterday afternoon. Wasn't yours, was it? My hand tightened on the microwave handle. Red sports car? A BMW, I think. Nice-looking young man driving it. Stayed about an hour. She flicked ash into her flower bed. Hope everything's all right. Everything's fine, Mrs. Malloy. Thanks for asking. But it wasn't fine. It was the opposite of fine. Lila had brought Owen to our house, to our bedroom, while I was at work. The violation of it hit me like a physical blow. My phone rang just as I was contemplating whether to throw the pasta at the wall or eat it like a civilized human being. "Got your intel," Jace said without preamble. "You sitting down?" "Should I be?" "Probably. First off, the phone records. Your wife's been texting this Owen character about 50 times a day for the past 4 months. And I mean everything. Good morning texts, good night texts, pictures I really don't think you want to see." I sat down hard on one of our kitchen stools. 4 months. Gets better. Credit card statements show charges at the Marriott downtown every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon. Same room number, same time slot, 2 to 5 p.m. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, when she claimed to be in budget meetings. "There's more," Jace continued. "GPS tracking shows regular stops at an address in Riverside Heights. That's the fancy neighborhood, right? Turns out it belongs to one Brianna Langley." "Bree's house." "Right. But here's the interesting part. Your wife's not the only one making regular visits. Our boy Owen's been there too. Same days, same times. Along with at least 3 other cars I'm still running plates on." I felt something cold settle in my stomach. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying your wife's book club isn't exactly discussing literature, if you catch my drift. More like a weekly swap meet." The pasta was getting cold, but I'd lost my appetite anyway. "How many people know about this?" "Hard to say. But based on the social media posts I've been tracking, and yeah, people are stupidly careless about privacy settings, I'd guess half your neighborhood has some idea what's going on." "Half the neighborhood, including Mrs. Malloy, apparently, with her pointed questions about red sports cars." "You want me to keep digging?" Jace asked. "Yeah, everything you can find. Financial records, social media, hotel receipts, all of it. This is going to cost you. I don't care what it costs." After hanging up, I sat in my kitchen for a long time, listening to the house settle around me. This was the house where Lila and I had planned to raise kids someday, where we'd hosted Christmas dinners and birthday parties, where I'd carried her over the threshold 8 years ago, both of us laughing and dizzy with possibility. Now it felt like a crime scene. My phone buzzed with another text from Lila. "Having so much fun with the girls. Don't wait up, love you." I stared at those 3 words, "love you," and wondered if she'd ever meant them, or if they'd always been just something to say, like "have a nice day" or "see you later." I typed back, "Have fun, love you too." Because I was still playing the part of the understanding husband, the man who was mature enough to accept his wife's need for physical connections with other people. But understanding and accepting were 2 very different things, and Eric Phelps was about to teach everyone involved the difference. The Rusty Anchor hadn't changed much since high school. Same sticky floors, same neon beer signs, same smell of fried food and broken dreams. It was the kind of place where blue-collar guys went to complain about their jobs and their wives, usually in that order. I found Jace at his usual spot at the far end of the bar, nursing a whiskey and scrolling through his phone. The bartender, Danny Russo, nodded when he saw me. "Beer?" he asked. "Make it 2, I said, sliding onto the stool next to Jace. "We're celebrating." "Celebrating what?" "My wife's honesty." I took a long drink and savored the bitter taste. "She finally told me the truth about something." Jace snorted. "That's one way to look at it. Got more intel for you, by the way. And you're really not going to like this part." He pulled out a manila folder thick with printouts and photographs. "Your boy Owen? He's been bragging about his conquest at the gym. Apparently seducing married women is some kind of hobby for him." "Bragging how?" "Pictures, videos, the works." Jace's expression was grim. "Guy's a real piece of work. Treats it like a game. Points for difficulty level, bonus points for getting the husband's approval." My grip tightened on the beer bottle. "He knows I know?" "Oh yeah. According to my source at Gold's Gym, Owen thinks you're the biggest pushover in the state. Keeps telling his buddies how easy it was to get you to roll over." The beer suddenly tasted like ash. His buddies. 2 other guys from the gym. Tyler something and Brad something. They've got a whole system worked out. Find bored housewives, seduce them, document everything, move on to the next target. I thought about Lila's glowing face when she'd told me about her connection with Owen, about how special she'd felt, how modern and liberated. She had no idea she was just another conquest in some twisted game. "There's more," Jace continued. "Remember those other cars I mentioned at Bree Langley's place? Turns out Mrs. Langley is running a whole operation over there. Weekly parties, rotating guest lists, the works. Your wife's been a regular for months." "How many people?" "Hard to say exactly, but I've identified at least 12 regulars. Married couples, single people, the whole spectrum." He pulled out a list of names. You know any of these people? I scanned the list and felt my heart sink. Tom and Jennifer Hayes from down the street, Mike and Sarah Chen from the Neighborhood Association, David Park, who coached Little League. These weren't strangers. These were people I saw at the grocery store, at community events, at backyard barbecues. Jesus, I muttered. Gets worse. Turns out your wife's been recruiting. She's the one who brought in the Hayes couple last month, and she's been working on the Andersons next. The Andersons, our next-door neighbors, married 30 years, grandparents to twin toddlers they babysat every weekend. I need another drink, I said. Danny poured me a whiskey this time, and I knocked it back in one swallow. The alcohol burned, but not as much as the humiliation. Half the neighborhood knew what was going on. They'd been watching me, pitying me, laughing at the clueless husband who couldn't see what was right in front of his face. "What's the plan?" Jace asked. Before I could answer, the bar door opened and Tom Hayes walked in. Tom was the insurance adjuster, mid-40s, the kind of guy who wore polo shirts to mow his lawn and always had something to say at neighborhood meetings. He spotted me immediately and headed over with a grin that made my skin crawl. "Eric, good to see you, buddy." He clapped me on the shoulder like we were old friends. "How's Lila doing?" The question was loaded, and we both knew it. Tom was testing me, seeing how much I knew, how much I was willing to admit. "She's great," I said evenly. "Really enjoying her book club these days." Tom's grin widened. "Yeah, I heard about that. Jennifer's been thinking about joining. Says it sounds, educational." "Educational, that's one word for it." "You should come to our barbecue next weekend," Tom continued. "Bring Lila. We're having a few couples over, the Chens, the Parks, some others. Should be fun." I understood exactly what kind of fun he was talking about, and the fact that he was inviting me, the clueless husband, made it even worse. "I'll mention it to Lila," I said. "Great, great." Tom ordered a beer and leaned against the bar. "You know, Eric, I have to say, I really admire how mature you're being about everything. Not every guy would be so understanding." There was that word again, understanding, like it was some kind of virtue instead of a synonym for weak. "What can I say? I want my wife to be happy." "That's beautiful, man. Really beautiful." Tom raised his beer in a mock toast. "To modern marriage." I wanted to grab him by his polo shirt and drag him outside. I wanted to explain exactly what I thought about modern marriage and the people who practiced it. But instead, I smiled and clinked my bottle against his. "To modern marriage." Tom finished his beer quickly and left, but not before giving me another one of those knowing grins. The moment the door closed behind him, I turned to Jace. "Change of plans." "I'm listening." "I'm done being understanding. I'm done being mature, and I'm definitely done being the neighborhood joke." Jace's smile was sharp as a blade. "Now you're talking. What do you need?" "Everything. Phone records, financial statements, hotel receipts, gym records, all of it. I want enough evidence to bury every one of these people." "That's going to take some time." "I've got time. Lila thinks I'm the perfect understanding husband. Owen thinks I'm a pushover. Tom Hayes thinks I'm too stupid to see what's happening." I finished my whiskey and stood up. Let them keep thinking that. Right up until the moment I proved them wrong. I drove home through the quiet suburban streets, past houses where my neighbors were probably getting ready for bed, or maybe getting ready for something else entirely. How many of them were in on Lila's little secret? How many of them had been laughing at me behind my back? The house was dark when I pulled into the driveway. Lila's car wasn't there. Another late night at Breeze, no doubt. I let myself in through the garage and stood in our kitchen, looking around at the life we'd built together. The granite countertops I'd installed, the custom cabinets I'd built by hand, the breakfast nook where we used to sit on Sunday mornings, reading the paper and making plans for the future. All of it felt contaminated now, tainted by lies and betrayal and the knowledge that while I'd been working to build something lasting, my wife had been tearing it down behind my back. My phone buzzed. "Staying at Breeze tonight. See you tomorrow. Love you," I typed back. "Have fun. Love you too." But this time, the words felt different, less like a lie and more like a promise. Because I did love Lila, enough to make sure she got exactly what she deserved. 3 weeks later, I had enough evidence to destroy everyone involved. Bank records showing hotel charges, phone records documenting hundreds of explicit messages, photos from social media that told the whole sordid story, even a few audio recordings thanks to Jace's creative interpretation of surveillance laws. But evidence wasn't enough. I wanted something more satisfying than a divorce settlement or a public shaming. I wanted to watch their perfect little world collapse in real time. The opportunity came from an unexpected source. Owen Marshall himself. I was grabbing lunch at the deli downtown when I overheard him talking to his gym buddies at the next table. Tyler and Brad, according to Jace's intel, both of them cut from the same cloth as Owen, all muscles and ego and not much else. She's completely hooked, Owen was saying. Thinks I'm in love with her. It's actually kind of sad. What about the husband? Tyler asked. Total doormat. Guy actually thanked me for making his wife happy. Can you believe that? They all laughed, and I felt my jaw clench. But I stayed put, listening. So what's the exit strategy? Brad wanted to know. That's the beauty of it, Owen said. There is no exit strategy. Why would I give up free sex with a hot older woman who's grateful for the attention? What if she wants to leave her husband? Not my problem. I never promised her anything. More laughter. I finished my sandwich mechanically, my mind racing. Owen had no intention of giving Lila the happily ever after she was probably dreaming about. To him, she was just entertainment, a middle-aged housewife desperate enough to believe his lies. That gave me an idea. I waited until they finished eating and followed Owen to the parking lot. He was unlocking his red BMW when I approached. Owen, right? We met at Lila's Christmas party. He turned, and I saw the moment of recognition followed by something that might have been guilt, but it passed quickly, replaced by his usual cocky smile. Eric, good to see you, man. How's it going? Can't complain. Listen, I wanted to thank you. His smile faltered slightly. Thank me? For making Lila so happy. She's been like a new person these past few months. Glowing, you know? I haven't seen her this excited about anything in years. Owen relaxed, his ego apparently soothed by the compliment. She's a special lady. You're lucky to have her. I know I am. That's why I wanted to talk to you. I leaned against his car, casual and friendly. She's been hinting about wanting to take things to the next level, leaving me, starting fresh with someone who really appreciates her. The color drained from Owen's face. She said that? Not in so many words, but you know how women are. They drop hints, expect you to read between the lines. I watched his expression carefully. I figure it's only a matter of time before she works up the courage to ask you directly. Look, Erica, I think there might be some misunderstanding. Oh, I don't think so. She's head over heels for you, man. Talks about you constantly, your workouts, your apartment, your future together. I smiled. She even showed me some of the pictures you've been sending each other. Owen went pale. Pictures? The intimate ones. I have to say, you're a photogenic guy. I patted his shoulder in a friendly way. Don't worry, I'm not the jealous type. If Lila wants to be with you, I want her to be happy. It's not like that, Owen stammered. Sure it is. You're crazy about each other. Why else would you be planning that romantic weekend in the mountains? What weekend? The one she's been talking about for weeks. Some cabin rental, just the two of you, time to figure out your future together. I pulled out my phone. Actually, she asked me to give you her new number. She got a separate phone so you two could talk more privately. I rattled off a fake number. Actually, Jace's business line, which he'd programmed with a recording of Lila's voice saying increasingly desperate and clingy things. She's really excited about this weekend, I continued. Keeps talking about how you're going to discuss moving in together, maybe getting engaged. She even bought a ring to give you, some kind of promise ring to show how serious she is. Owen looked like he was about to be sick. Eric, I think you've got the wrong idea. Do I? Because Lila seems pretty sure you're ready to commit. She's already started looking at apartments, talking about how you'll decorate the place together. I leaned closer. She loves you, Owen. Really, truly loves you, and she's counting on you loving her back. I left him standing in the parking lot, staring at his phone like it was a live grenade. Within an hour, according to Jace, Owen had called the fake number 3 times, getting increasingly frantic messages about weekend plans and ring shopping and meeting Lila's parents. That evening, Lila came home in tears. He's not answering my calls, she sobbed, collapsing onto our couch. Something's wrong. Owen always answers my calls. I sat down beside her and rubbed her back, playing the supportive husband. I'm sure it's nothing, honey. Maybe he's just busy at work. No, this is different. He seemed weird when I saw him this afternoon. Distant, like he was trying to avoid me. What did you talk about? That's just it. We barely talked at all. He said he had to run some errands and practically sprinted away from me. She looked up at me with mascara-streaked cheeks. What if he's having second thoughts about us? Why would he have second thoughts? You two are perfect together. Are we? Sometimes I wonder if he's really as committed to this as I am. He never wants to talk about the future, never makes long-term plans. I made sympathetic noises while inside. I was smiling. Owen was already pulling back, spooked by the possibility that his casual affair might turn into something more demanding. All I had to do was keep pushing. Maybe you should give him some space, I suggested. Let him miss you a little. You think so? I think if he really cares about you, he'll come around. And if he doesn't? I shrugged. Then he's not worth your time anyway. Lila nodded, wiping her eyes. You're right. You're always so wise about these things. Wise? Right. If only she knew how wise I was really being. Over the next few days, I watched my wife's confidence crumble as Owen continued to avoid her calls and messages. She'd check her phone obsessively, refresh her email every few minutes, find excuses to walk past his office at work. Meanwhile, I was putting the finishing touches on my real plan, because destroying Owen was just the beginning. I had bigger targets in mind, starting with Bree Langley and her little social club. The anonymous email went out on a Friday morning to every address in our neighborhood association database. The subject line was simple. What really happens at Bree Langley's book club? The message was even simpler. Check the attached photos and decide for yourself if this is the kind of activity you want in your neighborhood. I'd spent weeks curating the perfect selection of evidence. Social media photos showing the same cars parked at Bree's house every Tuesday night. Screenshots of explicit text messages between participants. Credit card records showing hotel charges and expensive gifts. Even a few audio recordings of conversations that left no doubt about what was really going on. But the crown jewel was a video Jace had obtained through methods I didn't ask about. Security camera footage from the hotel where Owen and Lila met twice a week. Nothing pornographic, just the two of them entering and leaving the same room, looking guilty and disheveled. I sent copies to the neighborhood association president, the PTA board, the local church newsletter, and the community Facebook page. By noon, my phone was ringing off the hook. Eric, it's Margaret from down the street. I just wanted to say how sorry I am about everything. Thanks, Margaret. I appreciate that. I had no idea Lila was involved in that sort of thing, and poor David Park, his wife is furious. She's already filed for divorce. David Park, the Little League coach whose name had been on Jace's list. Apparently his wife hadn't been as understanding as I'd pretended to be. More calls followed throughout the day. Neighbors expressing sympathy, asking if I needed anything, sharing their own shock and disgust at what had been happening right under their noses. But the best call came from Tom Hayes. Eric, we need to talk. About what, Tom? You know what? That email this morning? Was that you? I have no idea what you're talking about. Don't play dumb. Someone's been digging into people's private business, and I have a feeling it was you. I could hear the panic in his voice. Tom's wife Jennifer had been one of the regular participants in Bree's gatherings, and now their marriage was probably imploding just like David Park's. Tom, if you and Jennifer are having problems, that's between you two. I'm just trying to focus on my own situation. Your situation? Your wife's been screwing half the neighborhood, and you're acting like it's no big deal. Actually, Tom, I think you'll find that my wife was screwing exactly one person from the neighborhood. The other half dozen or so were your friends. Silence on the other end of the line. How long have you known? He asked finally. Long enough? And you just waited? Collected evidence? I wanted to make sure I had the whole story before I did anything rash. I paused. Tell me, Tom, how's Jennifer handling the publicity? The line went dead. By evening, the neighborhood was in chaos. 3 marriages had imploded, 2 families had put their houses up for sale, and Bree Langley's phone was going straight to voicemail. Lila came home around 7, looking like she'd been hit by a truck. Everyone knows, she said without preamble. Knows what? Don't. Just don't. She collapsed into a chair at our kitchen table. Someone sent photos, videos, text messages, everything. I'm sorry, honey, that must be really embarrassing. She looked at me sharply. You don't seem surprised. Should I be? You told me what was going on. I figured other people would find out eventually. This wasn't just finding out, Eric. This was a coordinated attack. Someone spent a lot of time and effort gathering this information. I opened the refrigerator and pulled out a beer. Want one? I want to know if you did this. Did what? Sent anonymous emails to the neighbors? Honey, I'm a construction worker. I barely know how to use email, let alone coordinate some kind of cyber attack. It wasn't technically a lie. Jace had handled all the technical aspects. I just provided the motivation and the target list. My boss called me into his office today, Lila continued. Someone sent copies of those photos to the entire HR department. I'm suspended pending an investigation. That's terrible. Owen's been fired. They escorted him out of the building this morning. I tried to look sympathetic instead of satisfied. I'm sure it will all blow over eventually. Will it? Because right now, it feels like my entire life is falling apart. She looked at me with something that might have been suspicion. And you're just sitting there drinking beer like nothing happened. What do you want me to do, Lila? Scream and yell? Throw things? You told me this was what you wanted. You told me to be mature about it. I didn't want this. I didn't want everyone to know. I didn't want to lose my job or have the neighbors look at me like I'm some kind of adulteress, she flinched. That's not what this was. What was it then? It was supposed to be different, modern, honest. Tears started flowing down her cheeks. It wasn't supposed to hurt anyone. I sat down across from her and reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. Honey, I think maybe you got caught up in something that wasn't as honest as you thought it was. What do you mean? I mean, Owen Marshall isn't the man you thought he was, and neither is Bree Langley. Over the next hour, I told her everything. About Owen's bragging at the gym, about Bree's organized parties, about the point system and the conquest mentality, and the way they'd all been laughing at the stupid husbands who didn't know what was going on. I didn't tell her about my role in exposing everything. That would remain my secret. By the time I finished, Lila was sobbing. I'm so stupid, she whispered. I thought he cared about me. I thought I was special. You are special, just not to him. She looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. Can you forgive me? It was the question I'd been waiting for. The moment when my cheating wife finally understood the magnitude of what she'd done and begged for my forgiveness. I should have felt triumphant, vindicated, satisfied. Instead, I just felt tired. I don't know, Lila. I honestly don't know. The divorce papers were filed on a Monday morning. Lila had moved in with her sister across town, leaving me alone in the house we'd shared for 8 years. The neighborhood had settled into an uneasy quiet. Several families had moved away, others were keeping to themselves, and the weekly social gatherings that used to define our community had disappeared entirely. I should have felt victorious. My plan had worked perfectly. Everyone who had betrayed me, laughed at me, or participated in humiliating me had paid a price. Owen Marshall was unemployed and facing a harassment lawsuit from another woman who'd come forward after the scandal broke. Bree Langley was getting divorced and had been forced to sell her house to pay legal fees. Tom and Jennifer Hayes were in counseling and barely speaking to each other. But victory felt hollow when you had no one to share it with. I was cleaning out Lila's closet when I found the journal. It was wedged behind a box of old shoes, a leather-bound book I'd never seen before. The first entry was dated 6 months ago, right around the time her affair with Owen had started. Eric seems distant lately. I know he loves me, but sometimes I feel like we're just roommates. When did we stop talking about our dreams? When did we stop making each other laugh? I sat on our bed, my bed now, and kept reading. Met someone at work today, Owen from marketing. He actually listened when I talked about the promotion I'm hoping for. When was the last time Eric asked about my job? Bree thinks I should explore what's missing in my marriage instead of just accepting it. She says life is too short to settle for comfortable. Owen kissed me today. I should feel guilty, but mostly I just feel alive. Like I'm interesting again, like I matter. Page after page of justifications, rationalizations, and genuine confusion about what she was doing and why. But also, buried between the lines, a portrait of a woman who felt invisible in her own marriage. I keep waiting for Eric to notice that something's changed, that I'm happier, more confident. But he just comes home, eats dinner, watches TV, goes to bed. Does he even see me anymore? The journal entries painted a different picture than the one I'd constructed in my mind. Not a calculating adulteress who'd set out to humiliate me, but a lonely woman who'd made terrible choices because she didn't know how else to feel valued. That didn't excuse what she'd done, but it complicated it. The last entry was dated the week before she'd given me her ultimatum. I can't keep living this double life. Either Eric and I find a way to reconnect, or we need to end this marriage honestly. I'm going to tell him everything and see if we can work through it together. Maybe this crisis will finally force us to talk about what we really want. I closed the journal and sat in the silence of our empty house. Lila hadn't given me an ultimatum because she wanted to hurt me. She'd given me an ultimatum because she'd wanted to save our marriage and didn't know how else to do it. And I'd responded by destroying her life. My phone rang, interrupting my thoughts. It was Jace. Got some news you're not gonna like, he said without preamble. What now? Remember that harassment lawsuit against Owen? Turns out the woman who filed it is lying. She was never involved with him. She's just trying to cash in on the scandal. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. How do you know? Because I know her, Tanya Morrison, my ex-wife. She heard about Owen getting fired and saw an opportunity to make some money. Jesus, Jace. It gets worse. She's been bragging to people about how easy it was to destroy some rich boy's life. Says she got the idea from watching how effectively you took down your wife's boyfriend. The implication hit me like a physical blow. She knows I was behind the email? She knows someone was behind it, and she's not stupid. Won't take her long to figure out it was you. What does she want? Money? Lots of it. Or she goes public with what she knows. I hung up and stared at the journal in my lap. The final entry, where Lila had written about wanting to save our marriage, was still open. Everything I'd done, all the planning, all the revenge, all the carefully orchestrated destruction, had been based on the assumption that my wife was a cold, calculating cheater who'd set out to humiliate me. But what if I'd been wrong? What if she'd just been a lonely woman making desperate choices? What if the real villain in this story was me? The doorbell rang, interrupting my spiral of guilt and self-doubt. I opened it to find Lila standing on the porch, looking smaller and more fragile than I'd ever seen her. I came to get the rest of my things, she said. Of course. Come in. She followed me upstairs. Boxes lined the walls, but she sat on the bed and stared at the room like she was memorizing it. I found your journal, I said, holding it up. Her face went white. You read it? Enough. Eric, I can explain. You don't have to. I get it now. She searched my eyes. You do? I sat beside her. You felt invisible. I stopped fighting for you, so you forced the issue the only way you thought would work. Tears rolled. Yes. And the ultimatum wasn't about choosing Owen. It was about making me wake up. She nodded. I took a breath. I woke up, Lila, just not the way you hoped. Confusion flickered. What do you mean? I'm the one who exposed everything. The investigator, the emails, the photos. Me. I ruined you, Owen, Bree, David, all of it. She stood slowly, like the air had thickened. You did this on purpose? Revenge, I said. I wanted you to feel what I felt. Her voice cracked. You didn't just hurt me. You burned everyone. I know. She started packing again, fast, angry folds and slams. I thought you were the good guy, she whispered. Turns out we're both the villain. She grabbed the last box. Divorce papers are downstairs. Sign them. The front door shut. The house went quiet. I signed. Later, I fixed what I could, dropped lawsuits, paid legal fees, sent money anonymously. It wasn't forgiveness. It was damage control. I sold the house, moved to Colorado, and took a job rebuilding homes after fires and floods. Fitting work. I still have her journal. Some nights I read it and remember the man I stopped being the day I chose destruction over repair. The neighborhood gossips tell a simple story. Cheating wife, heartbroken husband, divorce. They'll never know the shorter, uglier version. Two people who loved each other once, too proud to bend until both of us broke everything instead. I deserved to lose her. She never deserved what I did next.